Hey, welcome to FinTech Dispute Resolution TV. My name is Ednis Zahabi, and I'll be giving you regular updates on how to resolve your transaction and how to avoid transaction glitch in this festive season. And how can you actually avoid transaction glitch? One is making sure that the moment you are approaching a POS vendor to make your card transaction or card withdrawal, make sure you make inquiry from the POS operator if the network for your card is actually available. And how did I mean if the network for your card is actually available? On every terminal you see, especially the major ones like MoneyPoint, PalmPay, OPay, they have the radar for every network percentage on their business app on the terminal. So by so doing, if the card you're using, for instance, you are using Visa card, the network for Visa card is stated. If you are using MasterCard, the network for MasterCard is equally stated. Likewise, if you are using Visa card, the network for Visa card is equally stated. So now, how do you know that you can actually engage a transaction? If, for instance, after you make, or probably when making the inquiry, if the percentage is below 70%, 80%, know that there is high tendency that you have card debited transaction. But if the percentage is above 90 and probably 87, that means you know that there is high tendency you have a successful transaction. And when you have a successful transaction, that please endeavor to engage them to give you receipt so that you will not be caught unaware. Because we discovered that some of the POS vendors, we actually do go to make our transaction, especially you don't go to a place where you are not you don't know what or who actually owns the vendor. You don't just engage people by the roadside because you just feel that they are doing POS and actually you want to engage them to make a card withdrawal, because some of these POS, actually some of them are cloned. And what do we mean some of them are clones? Some of them actually can extract your details from your card. And when they extract your details from your card, after you have done some transaction, that means they can actually initiate another transaction while you are in the comfort of your home. So imagine now, after making a transaction and you are at the comfort of your home, you got another debit alert for another different transaction. So how will you manage such crisis? So that is why we advise that in this period, if you don't have any regular or any specific vendor that you make your card transaction, this is the time for you to be very, very careful. This is the time for you to be very, very sensitive to your financial dealings so that you will not be a victim of this fraudulent guys. So, and one of the things again we are actually going to advise you not to do is that once you are making a transaction, please try as much as possible to have an evidence of your transaction, like the receipt in question. Because we discovered that most of these people, when you are done with your transaction and you have a receipt for the transaction you make, eventually, if such POS eventually uh, debit you, that means from the transaction receipt you have, there is a terminal ID on it. It can actually be tracked once you have those things with you. But for instance, once you do a transaction because it was successful and you just deem it fit that it's not proper for me to have a receipt, let me just have my money and leave. And at the receiving end, probably you misplace your ATM, or probably you went to a vendor where your ATM is being cloned. You will not be able to defend that transaction because you will be even when you want to like investigate or make findings about where such a transaction emanate from, you might not be able to figure it out as at when due. So to avoid all this kind of issue, you just need to be very, very smart in everything you do in this season. And again, once you have a transaction glitch, it's not every transaction that you are actually required to go to your bank. Some of the transactions you do can actually be resolved on the terminal and can actually be resolved from your fintech app. That is why we are also advising for you to have a very smart, timely, efficient transaction delivery. You just have to imbibe the culture of this fintech mobile app. It can be OPay, it can be PalmPay, it can be MoneyPoint. Why we are mentioning these three is because they have been tested and trusted. And this, although we have other ones like Momo, we have Now. Those ones too are very good. But what are we saying in essence is once you have a transaction decline, uh, once you have a declined transaction, sorry, you can actually raise a dispute from the terminal and likewise raise a dispute from your own app. At the receiving end, your fund will be reconciled. And if these tips are actually help you for this first phase, kindly click, share, and kindly make comments if you have any transaction glitch and you feel that we can help you to resolve. Deem it fit to comment on the uh, on the YouTube handle, regardless of the platform that you are looking for, you are watching from. Thank you. God bless. One love.